We've got another winless matchup here in Week 4 between the Minnesota Vikings and the Carolina Panthers. There are two of those matchups this week, and one of them, I think we all can agree, shall not be named. But this one, though, these are still solid football teams. They clearly have some flaws. Panthers are definitely in a rebuilding mode. Got Bryce Young, first overall pick. And the Vikings, I believe, are about to kind of blow it up at the end of this offseason, especially if the season keeps going this way. But in general, though, all 6 games that these two teams have played in total have been hard-fought, competitive games. There's just clear flaws that are causing them to lose. And Seahawks had, in my opinion, not Seahawks, the Panthers had a good loss to the Seahawks in Week 3, in my opinion. Andy Dalton came in, veteran QB. Defense played hard. It was a close game back and forth where they held them to 5 field goals until the Seahawks offense just wore them down. And then the Vikings, I mean, every single game has been close and competitive the entire time. It's just all those tipped balls and plays that would go their ways that happened last year, which allowed them to be the cardiac kids and have all these comebacks. They're just not going their way this far. They're not going their way so far this season. So it's kind of one of the things I want to pitch it over to you, Ryan, is what does each team have to do to come out victorious here in Week 4 and get their first victory?
So for me, the Panthers, it looks like Bryce Young is going to be coming back this week. And I would love to see them kind of instill the same sort of offensive mentality of like, we're gonna sling the rock and no matter what. Andy Dalton had a good performance last week. I believe he was I think they threw the ball over 50 times. And I would love to see Bryce Young come out and do that. This Minnesota Vikings defense is not that great. And so I think if he's going to have a breakout game, this is a really good opponent to try to do that against. And then on the flip side of that, I think the Vikings are the more talented team in this matchup. And they need to come out. I don't think they're really going to be able to run the ball a whole lot against this front, but I think they need to get Justin Jefferson going, Jordan Addison going, and just kind of get those receivers involved early and maybe lighten up that box at the beginning of the game. And then hopefully be able to establish a run game as the game goes on. So that for me is kind of like the keys there for each team. I'm really interested to see this one because I do think the Vikings are the more talented team, but I think the Panthers, they've been able to keep things close. This defense has been pretty solid throughout. I know they gave up a good amount of points last week, but that Seattle offense is extremely explosive. So.
Well, and that's what it could have been a lot worse than initially than what the final score was because they had 5 field goals over the first 5 times the Seahawks scored, but then halfway through the third quarter, then the fourth quarter, that Panthers defense was just gas, and that's the issue with this team. Another thing too, then when looking at the Panthers, they do have some injuries right now. Xavier Woods and Frankie Louvu, 2 starting defensive players. Seem like they are gonna. Their injuries are definitely have to be watched throughout the season. J.C. Horn is on IR, and he's a really good player, but he's been battling injuries. And also,
C.J. Henderson is questionable. I'm not sure with what.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the things too. It just kind of questionable. They almost kind of have to put questionable if not kind of. They do have to put questionable if they're limited in practice.
Yeah, so they don't have a reason. Like sometimes they have a reason, but. But yeah, Miles Sanders was limited due to a groin injury. Jonathan Mingo's in concussion protocol. He was limited on Wednesday, so usually you have to have 2 limited practices before you can be a full participant. So we'll see kind of what the injury report suggests today. Yeah, but because we are recording this on Thursday, so it's going to be interesting, I think, to kind of see how these injuries play out. They don't like Taylor Moton. And Chandler Zavala are hurt for the Panthers as well, so that's not going to be helping Bryce Young in the pocket. But to be fair, the Minnesota Vikings aren't free of injury either. Like Lewis Seen, Josh Metellus, Marcus Davenport, Byron Murphy, all of those guys are on the injury report as well. And a lot of those players did not participate in practice yesterday. Yeah. So it's just going to be interesting to me to see kind of how these end up playing out. But yeah, so with all that being said, who do you think comes out ahead in this matchup?
So I am kind of a big believer of like progressing to the mean. And I think the Vikings took a lot last year. Took a lot of house money, so to say, in this scenario.
Yeah.
And I think they're starting to give it back a little bit. And I think that's one of the things is I just don't trust this Vikings defense. While at the same time, I think this Panthers defense, they do come out very strong to start the game. Every single game they've come out very strong and stymied. Frankly, just good offense in general. Atlanta started off slow. Seattle Saints started off slow. Then they were able to stop the Seattle offense for a good chunk of the game. They were just able to wear them down. And I think what's going to happen in this game is I think the Panthers are going to be able to stymie the Vikings offense, and then they're going to get out to a lead because this Vikings defense is not good. I think this time they're going to be able to hold it off and they're going to get the first win. I'm going to go with Carolina in this one. I think Bryce Young is going to get his first win. And that's if he starts. He's tracking the play, but if he does not play, Andy Dalton looked pretty good in the game last week. I think he can have good control of this offense. And Bryce Young will get there, but he's just still learning to be an NFL quarterback. So either way, I'm going to go with Carolina in this one at home.
Okay, I am going to go with Minnesota. In games like this, I just think the playmakers of Minnesota will make the big difference. And I do think Carolina has the better defense, but I don't think Carolina's offense is necessarily explosive enough to really take advantage of some of the faults on the defensive side of the ball for Minnesota, and really put this game away. So I'm going to go with Minnesota. They're just the more experienced team here. I think they get on the board with their first win. Also, they've had a pretty tough first 3 games. Tampa that was week 1, so that was a little weird. But then Philly and then the Chargers, I think, are both obviously like the Phillies obviously Super Bowl contender, but the Chargers I think are a playoff contender, even though they just got their first win last week. So it's going to be interesting. I think if Minnesota wants to have a fighting chance for the playoffs, they have to win this week. Whereas like Carolina, they have no expectations to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's what I think it's just kind of seeing that gradual improvement. And this Panthers defense is they need a little help from the offense, and I think this Vikings defense is vulnerable enough to where I think Bryce Young or whoever's at quarterback can get into a rhythm and exploit the weaknesses of Minnesota, which is a majority of the defense.
Yeah, very fair. So let's go ahead and wrap this video up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out ahead in this matchup. Is it going to be the Minnesota Vikings? Is it going to be the Carolina Panthers? Let us know what you think. And other than that, we will see you guys next time.